We have already discussed about how do you insert records, update records, and delete records. Correct. We have already discussed about these things. Insert, update, and delete. Alright. So today we are going to talk about export and upsert. So firstly, let's take up export. What is export? Export is basically the process of taking the data from Salesforce to CSV. So when you do an insert, what are you doing? You're actually trying to do a CSV to Salesforce. Export is as simple as Salesforce to CSV. Okay, you're just taking the data out of Salesforce, and here, the data in the Salesforce actually does not get deleted. We're just taking a copy out in a CSV format. That's it. So to do that, all that you have to do is you just have to go to data loader. Now, in this case, in export, don't need a CSV file. You will get the CSV file after the export is done, right? Before that, we don't need a CSV file to be ready. So let me just go to data loader, click on export. Give me a moment, let me fetch the security token. Okay. So I'm logged in. So now whatever data you want to export, you should just select that object. Here you don't have to select the file, not required. You just have to select the object from which you want to take out the data. Let's say you want to export the accounts. Just select account here. Then you just have to go ahead and select the location, the target location where you want to save the file. Okay, it's not browsing the file, it's just browsing the location where you want to save the file. Right. So you can browse and give a location. So I've already specified a location. And what is the name that you want to give to the CSV file? Okay. Okay. Then just go to next, and you have to select on what data you want to export in terms of putting the filters and all, which all columns you need. In Salesforce there might be a lot of columns, so you first of all have to decide which all columns you want to export. You want the name, type, billing, street, city, state. Let's say I need phone and fax also, right? So these are columns I need. Do you want to put any filter also? Only the accounts which meet a certain criteria. In case that is the case, you can put those conditions also here. You can add conditions. Okay, I'm not putting conditions here. Then click on finish. You have chosen to perform an export. Do you want to proceed? Yes. See, there were 37 successful extractions. Click on OK. All right. Now let me go and see what file we have got. So the file will get saved at that location in the CSV format. So all that you have to do is you just have to go and open the file. Comma separated file, click on next, click on finish. See, this is the file that we have got, the export file. Right? Is it clear? So this is how you can actually perform an export, right? Now, why do we usually do export in Salesforce? There can be a lot of reasons for doing export, like something as simple as you just want to take some data out, to get some email IDs which you want to send to an external system or something. Okay, as simple as that. Or it can be, sometimes you want to take a data backup. For that, you export the data. Other reason can be you want to perform some data cleansing activity and you just want to do it outside Salesforce using your Microsoft Excel or something. And for that reason also you can actually take a CSV format. So these are the different reasons, right? Okay. The next is Upsert. What is Upsert? Upsert is basically a combination of, as the name suggests, update plus insert makes an upsert. Update plus insert makes an upsert. Okay. So what is the concept of an upsert? The concept of an upsert is, in case you're trying to enter a record which is already existing, then it will update the record. If the record does not exist, it will insert the record. Right. So sometimes you plan to do a combine operation. This can be for two reasons. One, you have, let's say, you have 500 records to be inserted. Along with that, you have 200 records which need to be updated. So Upsert will allow you to perform both the operations together. Okay, so that's one thing. Second is, sometimes you do not have a understanding of whether the records which you are trying to create, whether they exist in the system or they do not exist. In that case also Upsert can help. So it will go and check if the record is already there, it will update that record. If the record is not there, it will just simply create a new record. So for example, if I try to do an upsert, it's the same way as my insert thing works. But here it's not just new records being created, I also have the scope of updating certain records. So let me just go ahead and take another file. Just give me a moment. Let me take a file. Success. Let's say these are the records which I want to update. So I put these records. Along with this, I'm putting certain records to be inserted also. Mycel limited, and then you put here. Okay. So in this file, there is a scope of updating certain records. There is a scope of creating certain records. Let me save this file. Okay, the Upsert file is ready. We want to perform an Upsert on account. Let me go ahead and browse the file. Go to next. Here operation will have 22 records. Okay, so it will match the fields on ID. Create or edit a map. Then name. Phone. Website. Text. Mapping done. Click on OK. Go to next. Yeah, success and error file is fine. Click on finish. You want to proceed? Yes. Okay. So there were 22 successful upsets. So out of 22, actually 20 were just all the records which already existed in the system. Correct? 22, 20 were already in the system. So for these records, it's just going to go and update those records, and the new ones are going to get created. So if you go and see the success, see the first two were created, and after that the other records were updated. Though we did not put an updated information, but I will just go and check if there is any updated information. It's going to update those records, right? So an upsert is basically a combination of an update and an insert, right? So that's how we do an upsert. Okay, now let me log in into the Salesforce and see if these records were created. Yeah, so this is the record which just got created. We already had these records created earlier, those got updated. Clear? Let me know if anyone has a question or doubt here. Export and Upsert. Any
Yeah,
question?
how to export the data for the related objects, like if you want to export the contacts data as well with the account, because we need to select the object from there. So in
Your
that case, we
export
will need to
system
select.
here, your export system from data loader just works for one object at a time.
Okay. And what about the, like we have done the upsert? Do we need to give the ID, because it will do the update and insert both? In case we don't give the ID, system should identify the record and then it should not update that record if it is already existing.
No, tell me again. In Upsert,
In
what
the
is it? Go ahead.
do we need to give the ID of the record?
In which operation? In Upsert?
Upsert.
If you have the
Yes.
record, then you have, if you have the record in the system, then you have to give the ID of that record. Otherwise, how will the system understand that this record already exists? Got it?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
like, what was the difference between these records? It's not fine. Upload file.
I was thinking it should mark that record as a duplicate instead of the item updated, because it is already existing and we have not updated
See,
anything in that.
again, duplicate, as I said, say Salesforce by default does not, see any record as a duplicate record because there are a lot of criteria for defining duplicate. So now how you actually want to check your record as duplicate or which field you want to basically use for making them duplicate, that's up to you. That's up to that business. So by default, Salesforce does not have any policy for marking a record as duplicate. So that does not work. Till the time you do not define some other ID field, you also have an option of defining some other field as an ID like web address and all this. Till the time you do not do that, ID, this ID field is the only ID field or identifier field which will be used in the upsert or an update. Once you have used, created some other identifier field, then you can use that other thing also. Get it? So that's how it is. But that's again up to you to decide whether you want to mark or you want to check duplicates based on the website or you want to check it on the phone number or on the fax number. Right. So Salesforce by default does not have anything. It just works with the identifier.
Okay, I just checked on the Google. It is for extracting the data from the related object. It's saying we can put the object name, like select
In the
contact
in
dot
the
name
query.
in the account query. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we will do later. Don't. So that's something
Okay.
which is a little later stage. Right now we are not aware of any query option.
Okay.
Fine.
And we have the option of export all. It is showing on Google. It is export all option is also there.
Yes. So export all basically allows you to export the data from the scan. The all the data in export all means exporting the data which is in recycle bin as well as the actual data. Correct? So we have an option called export all. So usually what an export all does, export all basically allows you to export the data from the actual database plus the recycle bin. So there can be some data in the recycle bin. Yesterday we saw that anything you perform a delete on goes into recycle bin, right? So that can also go into the export all thing. Those data will be also exported when you put do an export all. Recycle bin data will also go there, right?
Yeah, Jeet.
Yep.
Yeah, any performance tuning techniques in data loader? Like we want to upload only these specific columns like base columns, primary key columns. Any performance tuning?
No, sorry, tell me again. What is that?
Yeah, any performance tuning techniques
What
we
is
can
that
perform through
tuning
data.
technique? I might be using some terminology from some other programming language or something else. But if you can explain what exactly you mean.
Means in CBL especially we can go for some performance tuning like only base columns, only primary key columns. If you want to upload this, we can mention in IFB file, interface batch file, while we are performing this data loading. So
Exactly. So the thing
any
is,
kind
see,
of
right. So the thing is that no, we have done it through data loader. All the bulk data operations we have done through data loader. Correct. Now the same functionalities are available with the UI also. Data loader is what? It's a separate application, a different application which you have to install, right? Everyone in the company will not have data loader. If data loader is basically a very powerful tool, powerful as in you must have seen, how fast it is to update the data, delete the data, export the data. So, you are able to take out the complete export of your data on your system. You can easily create a CSV file and it's just a matter of a couple of minutes, right? So, and at the same time, you are able to update records very quickly. You are able to delete records very quickly, right? So, a lot of things can be done using data loader. So, usually, data loader is something which the developers and administrators will deal with. Okay, and it's not a very good thing to give the data loader access to people who are like non-technical people who are not the experts in it. Someone like a sales rep, someone like a customer support executive, right? So they, but at the same time they also might have some bulk data requirements, bulk data operation requirements. Like a sales rep wants to do that. I'm in the sales team. I'm a non-technical guy. I do not understand anything about data loader, but I want to enter 100 contacts. The sales rep also might need it. For them, there is an option from user interface. We are not going to do these options, but I'll just show you where these options are located. So under setup, under data management, you have these bulk data operations again available. See, there's a data import wizard. There's a data export option available. The process works almost same. So now, since you are aware of data loader, you should be able to read these, what do you call it, the instructions and do it on your own. Okay, and it is a lot more simpler as compared to the data loader. The concept remains same. You have to still create the CSV file, map the fields, everything. The concept remains same. The only thing is that through this import wizard, you will be only able to manage up to 50,000 records, whereas data loader allows you up to 5 million records, right? So the point is that on the user interface, where you're doing it through the user interface, it does not allow you a huge volume of data to be updated. Again, considering the same situation, that this user interface or the import wizard is basically used by people who are not that technically sound. So there is a scope of error. So even if you make an error, you don't make an error on more than 50,000 records. Getting my point? At the same time, what happens if you actually update all 5 million records by mistake? Or you update records and there is a fault in all the records. So rectifying that big error is going to be a challenge for you. So for that reason, this user interface does not allow too many records. Okay, so this import wizard doesn't need to be installed, nothing needs to be done. All that you have to do is you just have to launch the import wizard and you can start using it. So anyone who has the access of Salesforce and who has the access to perform these operations will be able to do it. Doesn't need the data loader. People who need to perform serious data operations, like the administrators and developers, people like that, they will usually work with data loader. Like, if you get into a company, you ideally should work with data loader. So administrators and developers will have the data loader application installed. They will have the security token. They should have the security token to use it. So that sort of thing. Okay. All right. Now, okay. Now a small question for you guys. I want to import contacts. I want to import contacts. Okay. So let's prepare the CSV file for importing contacts. So in the contact object, what all fields I have? Let's have a look. Okay, I have first name, last name, I have the account name, and after that, let's say I will take phone number and email ID. First name, last name, account name, phone and email ID. Okay, that's it for contacts. This is the information that I have, and I want to import these contacts. These are the records that I have. Okay. So I put the first name, last name, phone number, and email ID. What should I put in the account?
We can put the ID. Yesterday we discussed with the related field we worked via the ID.
Why not
ID of
name? See, basically what I'm trying to do, for example, this is what I have. Okay. The first contact that I want to create is for the account here. The first contact is from this company, Burlington Textiles. Second one is from Pyramid Constructions. And third one is from Accenture. Right. So this is what I want to do. Basically, I want to associate this contact with this particular account. So is it fine to put the account names like this?
uh, does, uh,
If
because
not, then why
name
not?
can be if because name can be duplicate. That is the reason we use ID. Or
Right. Now the point is that if you use like Accenture, for example, these two are fine. At this point of time, if you go into my database, you see there is one Burlington Textile, one this thing. But there are two Accenture. Okay. Now the names can be duplicate. Can we not put a rule, or can we not restrict the duplicate entries for name? Yes, obviously we can do that, but it's not that simple. See, while you are sitting in, in the session, or while you're sitting with your developer, or and you're thinking about possibilities, it's a lot easier world. The moment you start working practically, you will see that it's not, it's never easy to restrict the duplicates. It's a big thing. Like you really can have two companies with the same name. All right. So let's say there are two different officers, of the same company, and my end user is trying to enter. So I cannot restrict a duplicate name completely. There are two different offices of the same company. Let's say Accenture. There are two accounts. One is Accenture in Canada. One is Accenture in Australia. Right. So to train everyone on the naming convention, how they should name and all that is very difficult. At the same time, you do not want to lose on any business which is coming. If your sales rep is trying to enter the information, you don't want to cause too much difficulty for him to enter information. Otherwise, you might end up losing the data. Just for avoiding one duplicate, you actually don't get that particular deal, or that data does not get entered properly. So you don't want to take a chance on that, right? So as a data administrator, you will be actually willing to do that, but the people on the business side, on the functional side, will not allow you to do that, right? So that is it. All these logics, data logics, we understand. The senior management will understand or not, we don't know, because they will be more focused on making sure that every record is coming into the system, and you are not creating any difficulty for them to create data into the system, right? So those are certain factors. So based on the name, duplicate, there can be duplicate records, as we can see here itself. See, there is one Accenture, there is another Accenture. So if I provide the name here, definitely it's not going to understand which account you are going to talk about, because there can be multiple accounts with the same name. So what is the best way in that case? In that case, the best thing is to take the IDs of these records. Okay. So where do you find the IDs? How will you get the IDs of these records? That's the next question. So the best option is go to export.
by clicking on
Sorry, what is your solution? IDs. I mean, right now I just have three, so I can actually manually also pull it. But the problem is that if I try to pull it manually, for a bigger file, it is going to be a problem. So better do an export. Now Burlington Textile is which one? Do we really have that? Yes, we have. So you just have to go ahead and open the file. Account IDs, yes, yes. Next, finish. Yeah. So this is for Burlington Textile. Account ID. Pyramid construction. This is the ID. Accenture. Correct. So you may or may not have this field. Okay. You may or may not have this field, but you definitely need to have this field. Now you just save your file. Microphones on mute, everyone, please. All right. Now, go to this. Now insert. This time I'm not inserting accounts. I'm inserting contacts. Click on browse. contact import, go to next, 3 records, okay, create mapping C. There's this field is also account ID. On the Salesforce, that contact field where the account needs to be stored, that field is also called account ID. You go into contact user interface and try to enter it from here. This field, this is also the account ID field. You check it. See, there's no field called account name here, but there's a field called account ID. So account ID gets mapped to the account ID. Now the first name, last name, they can be mapped properly. You can do an auto match. So wherever the fields are, the names are same, it will match them. Okay. In today's file, we have kept the name similar like first name, last name, phone, email. Those can be mapped easily. Account name doesn't need to be mapped, so we can just keep it as it is. So you can click on OK and then go to next, and then click on finish. Yes. You success. 3 records got created successfully. Right. So I should have this contact under this particular account. See, the contact got created under this particular account. Clear? So whenever you have a parent object related to it, you don't supply the name of the parent object, you supply the ID of it. Because the relationship actually happens on with the ID, it does not happen with the name. ID is the identifier of the record, right? So anytime you are actually trying to import or insert an object's data which has a parent relationship field, basically, in that case, you should put the IDs. If you put names, it will not be able to understand which account you were actually talking about. Got it? Let me know if there is any question or doubt here with this thing. Inserting contact. Same way, opportunities. If I have to insert opportunities, I have to associate opportunity with an account. So in that case, again, instead of account name, you should use account ID. If you are entering cases, uh, the same thing happens there also. You have to associate an account with the case. Again, use the ID. Right?